ng pag-asa.
May pag-asa.
Malapit na ang ginhawa.
May ginhawa.
Mawawala ang pandemya. Mawawala na rin yan. It's gonna be okay na.
Okay na, okay na, okay na. Nandyan na ang bakuna. Magpapaturok ka ba? Subilin na ang pandemya. Magpapaturok ka ba? Nandyan na ang bakuna. Magpapaturok ka ba? Subilin na ang pandemya. Magpapaturok ka ba?
To all RJ Digi TV viewers, you can also watch us on YouTube channel RJ Digi TV. Just go to YouTube, type RJ space Digi TV, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and get your daily dose of your favorite programs. Thank you for watching RJ Digi TV. You are watching the multi-awarded Radio Bandido TV on Channel 224 Sky Cable and TV Plus boxes. Simulcast on DZRJ 8:10 a.m. Informing, advising, and entertaining the Filipinos and OFWs around the world. Streaming live on www.facebook.com/DZRJ 8:10 a.m. or on YouTube, channel RJAM News. To all Teleradio Bandido viewers and listeners, you can now watch Teleradio Bandido on our new YouTube channel, RJAM News. Hit the subscribe button and like the video. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified when a new video gets uploaded. Don't miss out on our dynamite lineup.
Hello and welcome to the World News Jam right here on DZRJ and RJ TV. My name is Eric Lecain and I am joined as always with Lolly Tolentino. We are talking about stories going on around the world. We're here on DZRJ 8:10 a.m. on your radio and RJ TV on Sky Cable Channel 224. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube at RJAM News. Subscribe to us there. Now, Lolly Tolentino, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, Eric. Spite of the challenges. And what about you?
Me, I am doing just fine. Now, Lolly Tolentino, answer this question. Are you fully vaccinated now?
Of course I am.
And how do you feel?
100%.
How do you feel, Lolly Tolentino?
I'm feeling great, as if nothing happened, as if I didn't even feel that I am vaccinated. I am just the normal Lolly.
All right, so you have all your arms and legs, everything is still attached. You are not feeling like a zombie. You don't have this need to eat brains of other people and walk around really slowly with your hands sticking out. Now, Lolly Tolentino, you had the Chinese vaccine, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have any feelings of communism now coming into your mind?
No, what I'm thinking right now is I feel like eating a Chinese food later.
Chinese food later? Aha! I knew there was something in that Chinese vaccine to further the ends of the Chinese government. But as far as you're saying, so far it sounds like everything is going fine. And just out of curiosity, I know we talked about this before. How much did the vaccine cost you?
Nothing.
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 So,
Yeah.
so Lolly Tolentino right here. Now, I'm thinking about getting myself a vaccine. I know that I can get a vaccine if I was in the United States right now, but I am not. But I'm thinking about go ahead and getting one here in the Philippines, and I think everyone else should do that as well. Don't you think the same thing? That would be a question.
Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, wherever you are, Eric, you can get the vaccine. If you're in Manila, if you're Cebu, if you have the chance to get a vaccine, take it now. Why are you going to wait for any vaccine? Like we always said, we talk about this. Take any vaccine; they're all good.
Yes.
All of my friends are all, you know, they have a lot of them are Sinovac, some are Astra, some are Pfizer. So whatever's available, they took it, and I really salute these people for taking the vaccine. So you should be the next one, Eric Lecain.
Yes, I want to be the next one because I want to be able to come on. I want to see, first of all, what my reaction is to the vaccine, and you know, whether I feel like a zombie or I feel fine. And I have a feeling that I'm going to feel fine, and I want to be able to come on the radio with you, Lolly Tolentino, and be able to say that everyone here on the World News Jam has been vaccinated.
Yes. So you better do it soon so we can talk about it. And you know what? To be honest, all my friends, I have friends who got vaccinated yesterday, and they are senior. They're more than 70, and they're all okay.
And they're all okay. All right. Well, that is good news.
So what are you guys waiting for?
That is good news, because this is how, now, Lolly, this is how I believe the Philippines is going to survive and get out of this thing, is we're going to get enough people in the country to get vaccinated. And I think that is going to be the key element for us to move into what we call the normal life again.
Yes. And you know what? The feeling of my friends like now, oh, I am fully vaccinated. Maybe we can celebrate later. I said, yeah, let's wait for the right time to do our celebration. Meaning, you know, we're happy that we are vaccinated already.
Yes, because I'm tired of getting in the elevator and going halfway down and realizing that I have forgotten my face shield and having to go back up. And I've done that so many times now. So I'm hoping that we get to this point. Now, here on the show, what do, Lolly? We answer questions that our viewers have, that they have given us during the week. They have sent to us during the week of things that are interesting to them, things that have happened in the news. So, Lolly, what have people been writing us this week?
Okay. Well, you know, we always get, exciting questions from different people, different issues around the world. So here we go. The very first question is from Bebet Paranaque. Israel and Hamas agreed to ceasefire after 11 days, and President Biden praises the decision. Good or bad?
Well, good or bad? Well, it's been bad. That's this small clash of Muslims and the Israeli police ended up in Hamas firing 4,000 rockets in Israel. I think they killed like 13 people. And of course, Israel retaliated in the worst possible way they could, sending missiles into populated areas, killing hundreds of Muslims. Many of them were women and children, and injuring over 1,700 people. I mean, I'm not exactly sure. I think I know what she means by the good or the bad. It's good that they have decided not to do this. They needed to stop this before an all-out war started. And who jumped in but Egypt, of all people, stepped in with a ceasefire agreement for both sides to agree to, and they did after 11 days of this ridiculous firing missiles at each other. But this is not before Hamas has claimed victory in this short little skirmish with the Israelis. And people are wondering, on their minds, if you look at the interviews that are going on right now in Israel, people are wondering, when is it going to start again? I mean, Lolly, the Israelis and the Palestinians, they have ceasefires all the time. They're always doing a ceasefire. It just takes one little incident, and then the whole thing starts all over again. And in general, these things are over holy sites, places that are sacred to the Muslims and also to the Jews. And, as I've said before, this is a giant world we live on. And someone said thousands of years ago that this is a holy site, and now everyone is fighting over this site.
Yeah. So something that we cannot understand why they're doing this. And if that, some people call it a sacred Israel, and part of it are sacred place. So why are they doing this? And then who are affected? The people, of course. And then I was thinking, like, they're like kids fighting over a candy, like, I think they better stop now. Nobody, like I said before, nobody will benefit this war, any war for that matter, not only the one with Israel and Hamas.
Yeah, that may not completely be true. A lot of Israelis think that this ceasefire is not a good idea. And Netanyahu, his political career is on the line. He has not been exactly that popular with all the people. And, I think that's part of the reason why Netanyahu decided to bomb the Palestinian scene so hard, because when he does, it makes him look good. It makes him look strong. And it kind of calms down all those people that are constantly criticizing him. Netanyahu and Joe Biden have not always been BFFs like, Donald Trump has been with Netanyahu. And Biden has said this ceasefire is good and it's, progress. But they are, they're committed still. The United States is still committed to supplying Israel with military missiles. He's supplying missiles to the Israelis, but he's also sending humanitarian aid to the Palestinians. So, he's kind of playing both sides of it. But, Netanyahu right now is still under fire for this ceasefire. People think it's a bad idea. They said that now it's embarrassing to the Israelis about this. And then he has broken down. He's stopped stopping people from coming to the mosque. That's okay now. And he is not going to kick out the Palestinians out of their neighborhood. And that's why Hamas is now claiming victory. So it looks like the president of Israel is surrendering to terrorism, is what they're making it kind of look out to be. So, a lot of people, and this is what, I can't understand. A lot of these Israelis, they want to see the Palestinians, they don't want to win. They don't want the Palestinians to move away. They want to see them wiped off the face of the earth. And the Palestinians want to see the Israelis wiped off the face of the earth. A lot of people want to declare war, and they want to because when they get war in, then they can get the United States to be on one side. And if they get the United States on one side, then of course Russia's going to get on the other side. And then, this whole thing is going to unfold. And I think that's why, so many people are watching this, is because they want to see if this thing elevates even more and the big boys get involved, and then we have a real problem.
Exactly. That's what's happening, because there's always politics here. So.
Yeah, and 58,000 Palestinians had to leave their homes and go into these makeshift shelters. And right now, the coronavirus is booming in the Palestinian population. So, there's all kinds of problems and issues that are stemming from this one little incident. See, all it takes is one little incident, but this clash between the police and the Muslims who were trying to pray in that mosque there. And from that little thing, the whole world is now getting involved.
Well, you're right. So
anyway.
Okay, I don't want to talk about war anymore, Eric.
Yeah,
let's
get away
move
from
to
war.
the second one.
Let's get into something.
All right, let's go to Melissa of Pasay.
I have enough wars in my own mind.
Okay. Your favorite topic. Why do you think Trump administration the 2017 phone and email of CNN? Can you explain more on the issue?
Okay. This is an issue. All right. This is an issue. It's been going on for hundreds of years, really. Journalists writing stories about politicians that they don't like, and they try and use their power to stop the press from publishing that story. We talked about this a little bit last week with the Putin issue. Putin, he just took over the media in Russia, so they would only write good stuff about him. But the U.S. prides itself on this free speech and free press, and in general, that has been the case. However, when Trump became president, his first order of business was to discredit the press. He called them fake news. He called them liars, except, of course, the ones that wrote nice things about him. Trump has had that idea that when he becomes president, he can do anything he wants, such as, used the Department of Justice to obtain phone records of reporters who those reporters are calling and who they're emailing. So if you remember, in the first years of the Trump administration, they were full of leaks. Trump is, he's known for treating people really badly. Anybody that works for him, he treats really badly. So nothing changed when he came in the White House. However, all these people that he rubbed the wrong way, they started dropping info about what was going on in the White House. And literally every day someone was leaking something secret. So, reporters don't have to tell their sources. So the point being, Trump would be waking up in the morning going, how did the reporter know this? How did they get this information already? So people in his own White House were telling on him, basically. And so he used the Department of Justice to try and find out who it was. And in some cases, you can use the Department of Justice. You can use them, especially if you think that Homeland Security isn't, being compromised or something. But this may not have been the case. And if this wasn't the case, what Trump was doing, was it legal? I mean, because if any other president in the past had done this, this would be an impeachable offense, of course. But with Trump, he does lots of impeachable things. Then we got to just pick one to which, we're going to try and impeach him for. So this issue is coming up again because we need to take a look at this in a lot of ways, because this is going to be looked at by the world. Can presidents investigate journalists who write bad things about them?
Okay. Is there such thing like a law in the U.S. about that? That you can investigate the media people. I'm sure they do. They can, right?
Yes, you can. You can investigate, or you can subpoena, or you can get phone records or emails through the DOJ if you believe that they are doing something that's going to harm the country. But they investigated to try and find out who was the person that was, they tried to subpoena Twitter to find out who was making these posts saying that Devin Nunes' mother was a cow. Because remember, this person came out and was saying, we're showing pictures of Devin Nunes, who's Trump's, right-hand lackey, showing pictures of his mother, and it was a cow. And so they wanted to find out who it was. And so they sicked the DOJ on them. Now, you can't do that. You can't use the Department of Justice as your own personal private investigator.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what that story is.
Okay, let's wait for that. They have not gotten it yet, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is an ongoing thing. Boy, I wish I had a DOJ. I would love to investigate some of my friends.
Okay.
Anyway.
Let's wait for that.
Yeah.
Gina Pasig. Oh, what happened to Bitcoin this week? Update, please. I know.
Yes.
I know what happened.
What
I
is
just
one
talked about this last week.
One of the most questions that I have been asked this week. What happened? Now, I believe. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Lolly Tolentino. We predicted that this would happen right here on the show. We're not financial experts, but it doesn't take a genius to see something is being artificially inflated, like Bitcoin. And Bitcoin this week dropped $30,000 in a day. So that doesn't happen in a stock very much. It's funny that it started happening in Coinbase. Coinbase is the company that you can get your Bitcoin from, and people were calling up, and they ended up getting knocked offline because so many people were trying to get a hold of, to exchange their coin. But we had said, what we said before was that big investment firms were going to start buying up Bitcoin, and then they were going to get all their clients to buy Bitcoin, drive the price up, and then they were going to sell it and then leave everybody holding the bag. But as it turns out, it was kind of China that caused this all to happen. The China Banking Association sent out a warning of the risks of holding on to Bitcoin. And as soon as they did that, the dam started to break, and they lost, $70 billion in market value in a night. And then, or just at the same time, Tesla said that they would no longer accept Bitcoin as payment for one of their cars. Even though Elon Musk holds a huge bag of Bitcoin, He's one of those guys that I believe is manipulating the price, by the way. And then in the middle of all this, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is trying to get involved to regulate cryptocurrency, help protect investors from these people that are manipulating the price. So all this news that's come out has tanked the stock, or not, it's not a stock, but they tanked Bitcoin, the value of it. So, right now they're saying, people are just jumping the wagon because everybody tried to get on because everybody thought they were going to get rich overnight because we all saw it go from $8 to, $60,000 and like, oh my God, I'm going to make so much money. But unfortunately, everybody jumped in like at the, when all the investors were getting in. And once the investors start getting in, the big time guys, they're going to drive the price up. And then it's going to, something like this, which is totally artificially inflated, somebody's going to stick a pin in it and it's going to pop. And when it pops, everything's just going to come flowing out. And it's just hilarious that it was the Chinese Banking Association.
Oh my God, this is like it's like a gum. It's always a gamble. To do this
Leave it
kind
up
of
to the
thing.
Chinese to mess it up for the rest of us. But we said it on the show when last week somebody asked, should I buy Bitcoin? And what did I say? Don't only buy Bitcoin if you have a lot of money to lose, because this thing is volatile and it could just explode at any time. And last week it did.
Yes.
And the air is coming out of that balloon at the speed of $30,000 in a night.
Yeah, I know. So for those people, oh my God, sorry. Thank God I don't have the money, money to buy those kind of Bitcoin. Otherwise,
Man, I'm worried about paying the dues on my condo, much less buying Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly. Okay, this is from Imelda of Manila. Oh, okay. I don't know if you will agree with this one. Is it true that drinking any amount of alcohol causes damage to the brain like memory loss? What is your thinking?
Interesting question on the show here. Mama always said drinking will kill brain cells. She used to say that every sip of beer kills 10,000 brain cells. Of course, now, if that were true, in my college days, I would have no brain left, for sure. But, the old saying that alcohol kills brain cells is not true. It's a myth. Alcohol does not kill brain cells. It doesn't. I went to the trouble to looking all this up. I've reported on this, something similar to this several times before. If somebody shoots you in the head with a gun, that kills brain cells. But drinking does not. However, alcohol is a drug. And it changes the chemistry in your body. For instance, how many times have you passed out from drinking? And then everyone is like, do you know what you did last night? And you don't remember. I mean, Lolly Tolentino, how many times have you had a few drinks and woken up the next morning with a strange man in your bed that you did not know?
Oh my God, that question is really nice. With that kind of crazy question, but thank God I did woke up after drinking, with a man beside me without knowing who that guy was. Thank God. But then, kidding aside, but alcohol really. I mean that, I don't know if that happened over time, that you can, like what she says is like maybe loss of memory, maybe little by little, maybe during the time when you have that alcohol. But after that, when they said, okay, if you pass out because you had a lot of alcohol in your body during that night, but the following day you can recover. Just drink a lot of water.
Well,
right?
Let me just tell you, Lolly, what's going on now. I only know this because I know a lot of useless information, although today it's kind of useful. When you drink, the activity major neuron transmitter in the brain, so the activity in that neuron transmitter is increased, and that suppresses the activity of the neurons in the brain. And this is what causes slurred speech. You can't walk straight, slow reflexes, and this short-term memory loss that she's talking about. Now, of course, if you drink enough, you will black out. And it changes, like I said, it changes the chemistry in the brain. And when you start messing with the body's chemistry, the body's going to react. And drinking can change. It can make you happy. It can make you sad. It can make you aggressive. It can make you angry. It can make you confused. And it can even disrupt a person's breathing and their heart rate.
Yeah.
And if you continue to keep drinking heavily, like over a long period of time, sometimes these changes to these neurotransmitters of the brain, they can become chronic. It's called atrophy of the brain, and it will start to set in as some parts of the brain, you keep drinking and they go to sleep, and at some point they don't want to wake up again. And here's what this is what I think that she's referring to. And this is where you get into the short-term and even long-term memory loss. Your emotions, if you continue to keep drinking, your emotions may change in an abnormal way. Things just happen to you. Some nerves in your body may become deadened, and they may not be able to send signals anymore. And these are factors that cause stroke. So a lot of people who have strokes tend to be big-time drinkers. Now, as we said, they do not kill brain cells. However, too much drinking can damage your brain cells to the point where they just don't work well anymore. And you have these, chemical imbalances in your body. The brain can become addicted to these imbalances. And eventually you become addicted to alcohol, to the fact that you need to have your drink. Your brain needs to have a drink. It has to have it in order to suffice what it's used to every day. And now you're starting to not just change the chemicals in your body, the chemicals in the body are becoming, that's the way they are. And I'd like to make one more point, and I'd like to get your reaction to this. It turns out that at one point, women who drink tend to have more damage done to their bodies than men. And this is something that has been written about multiple times, that they've been saying, drinking will actually cause your brain to shrink. And this is very, very true in women, in multiple studies that they have done. So they believe that in women, memory loss is more apparent by excessive drinking than in men. And they're also more vulnerable to damage of the liver and the stomach and the blood flow and the heart. So that's just something to, add to it, that if you're a woman, just remember that these things can be much more, you can be much more vulnerable to these things.
Okay, so if that is true, because everybody says, just drink moderately. I don't know what moderate is. Okay, because I remember when I was younger, I can drink. Tell me. I mean, my favorite drink that time is Jack Daniels.
Ooh.
That was before, when I was younger. Yeah.
The hard stuff.
Oh yeah. And then what do you call this? And then later on it's plus the black label, all of this. And I remember, I pretty much remember that. Okay, I know that time. I know how to handle myself. Okay, but I can compare myself to other people. When they get really drunk and, maybe they had more drinks than me, they pass out and sometimes they do crazy stuff. And then the following day, ask them, do you remember what happened last night? They don't remember.
No.
Right? Most of them. Now, and then from the time when I was like watching people when they drink, because I know I can drink moderately, I can just have a glass of wine or champagne, things like that, just for social, for the social thing. But then it's not really getting drunk. And because I noticed also lately, not recent, but then if I take red wine at night, that puts me to sleep, which is, I think, good, right? But then to some people, there could be some side effect of that. They can, because I see women drinking and, like I said, getting crazy without knowing. And I think the memory loss, you're right. I think the memory loss is mostly women get when they drink. But excessive drink, sometimes I really don't know what happened to them. And really, some people get really addicted to alcohol.
Yeah, I mean,
and they get violent later.
It's a drug. It can change in different people. It changes people in different ways. And like I said, if you drink enough, it slows down the neurons, the activity in the neurons, to the point where, like, you start talking like, this. I think that's the worst impression I could do of a Southern drunk. But things like that will happen. But what it will do is it will stop the signals going to your memory. So, this whole thing about get her drunk and she won't remember anything. And sometimes that ends up being true if you can have enough alcohol, especially, like I said, in women, it seems to be more effective. Now, obviously, it's different in everybody, but this ability for alcohol to slow down those things or even stop the signals going through the neurons. And that can't be good. I mean, it can't, drinking a glass of wine is actually healthy. It actually is good for your heart. But drinking 15 glasses of wine on an empty stomach, that can cause a problem.
Yeah, that's why they say, wait, if you plan to drink, take something first. Have some solid food before you take any drink, any alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay, so we cannot drink together, Eric, because otherwise, what if I lose my memory while drinking with you?
Well, in some ways, I would like for you to at one point, maybe one day, have a couple of drinks before the show, just so we see what comes out. But hey, that's something we'll see about here on the show. I know a lot of people are wishing that as well. But what is our next question?
All right, our next question is, this is from Paz Mandaluyong. Oh, another good subject for you to discuss. French court orders damages for 100 victims in breast implant scandal. Women suffered long-term health problems after PP implant. What do you know and advise women who's thinking of implant? We talked about this before.
All right. Yes, this was a major story this week in the world of medicine. Anyway, TUV Reinhold, I think it was. They were found negligent because they awarded safety certificates to a French company that made faulty breast implants, and 300,000 women got these implants from poly-implant prosthesis since 2010, and these implants were filled with cheap industrial-grade silicone. So, of course, certain types of silicone are dangerous to the body, and if they develop leaks, which they seem to have done, all kinds of problems started to develop, and they did. So many people right now are seeking damages from TUV. It's just, they're trying. What they're trying to say now is, oh well, some of these women were before 2010, and who are we to police the people who actually put them in? We're just the ones that say that it's okay that they have a certificate. But the court didn't think that. The court did not buy that. And they said, listen, you're the ones that gave them the safety certificate, said it was okay for them to do this, and they did it. And now all these people have this dangerous silicone that's not meant to be in your body inside their bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the sad part. I always believe that if there's anything that you put inside your body, it's like they call it a foreign body in your body. You don't know what's the effect later on. And this is the thing I was worried about when I was hearing that some friends are getting implant. Okay. Yeah, maybe for you guys, it looks good, right? Because you always look for women who has a big front, right? Front and back, we want it big, right? But there is a health issue. After all, maybe not in the next 5 years or 10, but what about after? That's why I have a friend of mine, her silicone was taken out from her breast because really, she's having a problem. She's having this back pain because it was so heavy, according to her. So I think she did it. I don't know how she is now. I don't know where she is now. So there's a big issue about this implant thing. Now it's getting in, it's now like a legal battle for the other.
I mean, you see people that get these implants, and first thing, when somebody has an implant, I can tell a mile away that they have an implant. I don't know why they say that it looks natural. But, as you age, your body changes. But those implants don't. They don't change. So, you ever seen an older person that had an implant 20 years ago and it looks horrible now? So, these are just things to think about. I mean, this guy who ran this company, who put these implants in, who knew he was doing, he got 4 years in jail and he got $80,000 fine. But nobody's going after him because he doesn't have the big money. They're going after TUV because they want like this, they want a big payout, and I'm sure they're gonna get it. But this company, they put these implants in, and these implants are 6 times, according to the court reports, 6 times more likely to rupture. And so if you're if you fall down or you're in a car wreck or, you're in a whatever reason where something like this could rupture. And these, there was the whole court proceeding had all these things about these things. And they, the victims suffered from autoimmune disease and cancer, anxiety about it. And it turns out that these particular group of women who had implants from this company had a much, much higher chance of having autism in their children.
Wow.
And that's because of the breastfeeding, what children were breastfed from the mother in which the silicone had leaked into their body.
Whoa. That is really scary. So women out there, if you plan to have an implant, think 10 times or 100 times before to do it.
Yeah,
maybe it looks good, but it's dangerous.
If you're going to have an implant, for whatever reason, let's say, you're a gay man in the Philippines and you want to look more like a woman, and so you go get an implant, and you go, you take that trip up to Thailand and you get your implant. Make sure you investigate this company that you're going to. Don't just go to the cheapest company in Thailand, because I got to say, you don't know what they're putting in you. And I was going to make a joke. It could be Chinese, but I'm not going to say that. But, make sure you find a reputable doctor. And sometimes if it's really cheap, if you see an ad and you go to Thailand to get your breast implant for whatever because it's so cheap, there's a reason why it's cheap. There's a reason. And you can investigate these implants to ones that you know are safe and say, I want to use this implant, not whatever you give me or whatever you can make the most money on. I want this particular brand. And so, there are particular brands that are safe, that have been proven to be safe. So do your background and look into this, because, this could cause, and here again, if you, and I'm speaking because I know that a lot of people will go to Thailand because they have cheap breast implants there. And you go to Thailand and you get your implant and you come back to the Philippines. And then what do? What if something goes wrong? And you're here in the Philippines. There's nothing you can do. I mean, go back to Thailand, try and find the person. So anyway, just, do your due diligence and really look at what they're putting in you and make sure you know the brand.
Yeah. Okay. I will add to that. The reason why probably it's cheap, because it's not silicone, they put gelatin. Okay.
I had Jell-O for dinner last night, so
okay.
we're not talking about that.
Okay. Let's go to Gina of Antipolo. Why does coronavirus mutate? How do we stop it before it gets dangerous?
All right.
Okay, Eric Lecain, tell us.
Yes, we have talked a lot about the mutation here on the show, but the big question that she has is why? Why does it mutate? So let's just get this out of the way. In super simple terms, when the virus enters the body, it attaches to a cell, and then it copies itself, and then it attaches to another cell, and it keeps hijacking the cell, the next cell, the next cell, until you get sick. But sometimes there's an error when it moves from one cell to the other. Something happens and it changes its cellular structure. And this is called, especially when it comes up against an immunity in the body. So the virus attaches itself, it comes up against the immunity. And so when it jumps to the next cell, it changes. And that is a mutation. And, life in the world, if there's a frog that lives in the swamp its whole life, and eventually the swamp dries up or it becomes poison or alligators move in, the frog will eventually have to move to land. Now, maybe the first million frogs will die, but one frog is going to figure out a way to survive. And that frog is going to mutate, as life does. And, life in the microscopic world is the same. As we become more immune to the virus, it will find a way to survive. And the first billion copies that it makes going from cell to cell, they're all going to probably not survive, and they're probably going to die. But one of those is going to find the right combination. And then it will copy itself, and then it will copy itself again and again. And eventually the person where that cell is, they're going to sneeze, or they're going to cough, or they're going to touch a door handle. And now that mutation is in another person. And now that other person, now it's mutating in that other person. And so this is the issue that we have to deal with as to why this thing happens.
Oh, Wow. That's why you should really get your vaccination as soon as you can.
I just thought, let me just make one more point. The regular flu has been around for how long? Hundreds of years? How long have we been getting the flu?
Mm-hmm.
We can't get rid of it. Why can't we get rid of it? It just keeps changing. As our immunity builds, then the next year it changes. Now, some viruses like smallpox, we've been able to acquire a herd immunity. It was not able to replicate faster than we could become immune to it. So smallpox is gone, basically gone. However, when it comes to the coronavirus, we don't know yet what's going to happen. We really don't. We already know it's mutated several times. Even the mutations have mutated. I know the Philippines is talking about we're in the third generation of a mutation now. So how is our immunity going to deal with these mutations? And how are we going to stop it from continuing to change? This question was, how are we going to stop the mutation? And the answer to that is we don't. We can't. We can't stop a virus from mutating. We can develop herd immunity, but you're never going to stop it from mutating. Life does that. If the dinosaurs were on the earth and the dinosaurs all died out, but what happened? We came. We're here now. So, life has mutated and it's going to continue to mutate. I mean, there's a vaccine we have out there now and it's very effective on the virus. But how good is it going to be on a mutation, and which mutation? There's multiple mutations now. The COVID-19 virus is very clever, but this vaccine is even more clever. We talked about the vaccine and how it works. It's very clever how they figured this out, but it's good at stopping COVID-19. We just don't know how COVID-19 is going to react to the vaccine in the long term, whether it's going to figure out a way to get around this immunity, which is why you try and get as many vaccines as you can as fast as possible to get the herd immunity as quick as you can before the mutations take off.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's scary. It's scary if you think about it. I mean,
it is.
We don't know in the Philippines now. We don't know where all these mutations are. We don't know how many there are. There could be a lot more than we can even imagine. I mean, 1%, all it takes is less than 1% of the cells to change. And now all of a sudden it can be in, 30,000 people in a couple of days and we don't even know it. And this is something we're going to have to find out. We're going to find out in the next couple of years, like where this virus is going to go and what path it's going to take and how well we were at combating it.
Yeah, thank God I'm vaccinated. You take your vaccine.
I know. Just keep wearing your mask, Lolly, because you don't know where that mutation might be.
I know, right? Even though I'm 100% vaccinated, I am still wearing my face mask and face shield. All right, let's go to Amity of Quezon City. Oh, okay. We talk about this again. There's this is like a follow-up question. What is the latest on Bill and Melinda Gates' divorce? Is it really because of his affair with a Microsoft employee?
Ooh, It's sizzling, isn't it? Oh, it's so juicy. We can only speculate here because, the Gateses are never going to tell us why they really got divorced. But like what I said before, there are many possibilities. And the most recent ideas is Bill Gates came off as being a nerdy do-gooder. He's trying to, lead us believe that he's this really good guy. He's going to help the world. But maybe we don't remember that Bill Gates is one of the most ruthless businessmen that was ever, he planted stories about competitors and require companies just to kill their products that they spent their entire life working on. And if you don't remember when he appeared in Congress and was like snapping back to the congressman of all these allegations against him, all these laws that he had broken, there are laws that are now in place in the United States because of Bill Gates. He's the one that made these things, he's one of the most evil guys that has ever been in the tech industry. And, he's tried to change his outside image in the last couple of years, but inside he's probably still the same guy. And his past contact with relationships has turned out to be very dark. There's a very dark past to Bill Gates. He had a relationship with this billionaire, Jeffrey Epstein. Remember that guy? The guy who trafficked in the underage girls? Well, he and Bill Gates used to hang out. even after Jeffrey Epstein was implicated in that sex scandal. And this is something that's widely known that his wife was really unhappy about. She was really mad about this. And, you know, first thing, Melinda Gates dated her boss. She's just out of college and started in Microsoft, and that's when they started dating. And everybody knows that Bill Gates had a sexual relationship with this other woman, and Melinda knew about it. There was a Microsoft board investigation into this, and Gates finally had to, leave the board. And turns out he's, now that this divorce has happened, turns out that he asked multiple employees out on dates while he was married, and all this is coming out in public. And, the big one, of course, was his meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. And this was even after he was convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor. So, of course, we're all speculating here. And then, Gates had his longtime wealth manager is in trouble for sexual harassment, and Gates tried to settle it under the table, and his wife found out about it. She was really mad about that. So there's all kinds of things that are coming out now that are spilling out, and I'm sure there's going to be more.
Oh, I'm sure. Okay, maybe, who knows, next week there will be another question about this. But anyway.
Of course, it's all Bill's fault.
Well, the good thing here is that we're getting a lot of different questions from different people, and you know what? Some are really exciting and controversial, like this one of Bill Gates. All right, let's go to Myra of the gig.
Spicy subjects.
Okay. Do you think China's space program can overtake NASA?
What an interesting question that is. Recently, China's missions to Mars sent back some great pictures. I think that was last week. They sent back pictures of the red planet. They're the only country that's ever been on Mars other than the United States. And soon it's going to descend its ramp, and they are going to move their little rover out onto the Mars surface and start looking for frozen water or past lives, or maybe places to build military bases. I don't know. But they're also, went to the moon and brought back samples from the dark side of the moon. The key word in that one is the dark side. People are still trying to figure out why China was up there. Why did they go to the moon? Because we're not really sure. And they also sent 2 small space stations into orbit. But the question that I think we want to ask ourselves is, why don't we see China on the main International Space Station? And the difference, I think, now, here we go. We're trying to spice things up a little bit. The difference between NASA and the CNSA is trust. NASA works with many countries around the world, and they all have partnerships in space. But the CNSA, they're not really allowed on the International Space Station because nobody trusts them. The China space program is so secretive, and they're so worried that it's tied in so tightly with the Chinese military. In fact, NASA is now not even allowed to bring the Chinese into any project without congressional approval, because Congress is so worried that China is there just to spy, and is trying to figure out a way to up its military, to bring its military bases into space, and to put a military island on Mars. But so I think that is to think that the Chinese is going to outpace NASA in this. NASA's been up there, but NASA's now not just NASA. They're connected all over the world. A lot of different countries are all working together. But I just, we're wondering what is going to happen in space, which is why it's fascinating. I think the reason that they made the Space Force in the United States, which we all joke about, was because of China, because they're worried about what China's doing up there. So, it'll be interesting to see what the next move China makes in space is.
Okay, this is a good point. You know what? For the China just to go to West Philippines, why don't they just go to the moon or anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, we can replace a lot of our sentences. We can just take out the word China Sea and just put space in, because it's not. It might be very similar. And a lot of people are still wondering what they were doing on the dark side of the moon. Like, what did they leave there? And what, they didn't go up there just to get samples. We know what's on the moon. We've already been to the moon a bunch of times. Why did the Chinese go to the moon? And that's something that I'm waiting for them to. I'm sure there's all kinds of stories that are going to come out about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. We'll wait. Will where will be the next place they're gonna go?
Yes.
All right. From Renato, Makati City. Okay. What is your thoughts on the new policy not to disclose the COVID-19 vaccine in advance in the Philippines? Okay. Heard about this?
This is a hard one.
When the
I mean,
okay.
yeah. I mean, if you have a choice between the American vaccine and the Chinese vaccine, which one are you going to pick?
Well, if I would be, of course, I would always say the American brand, but then I
know.
didn't have a choice that time. I took Sinovac.
I know. I mean, it's a tough one because China has a long history of making cheaper, less effective products. They do. They're known for producing millions of fake drug copies every year. They tend to not admit that they made a mistake about something that could potentially be harmful to your health. So, if that's what you're going on, then yeah, you would probably pick the American vaccine.
Yeah, you have a choice.
Probably, what they should have done, I think, is probably not say that they got the American vaccine, just say they got the vaccine. Because now people know. And now that I think the tricky part is going to be, if you're in line and you get up to the front of the line and they have the Chinese vaccine and you say, okay, no, I won't take it. So they send you at the back. And so, okay, now there's a chance that when I get to the front, I may get the American one. So people may say, well, I'll just opt out because maybe there's a chance that the next time I do it, one of these American vaccines will pop up, or maybe a European vaccine or something. So I think, this is, I think they were so happy to announce that they had gotten the Pfizer vaccine in the Philippines, not thinking ahead like, oh, wow, now everybody's just going to want the Pfizer vaccine. Because as we know now, the Chinese vaccine is 50 to 60% effective, but the Pfizer vaccine is 90% effective. But there's a reason for that. I mean, the Pfizer vaccine is very expensive and it's very hard to keep and it's very hard to maintain. There's a reason why it's expensive. The technology behind the Pfizer vaccine is different than the technology behind the Sinovac vaccine. They both have similar outcomes, but the way that they get to that outcome is different. So, yeah, I mean, if you have a choice, a free vaccine between one that's proven to be not almost completely effective for the COVID versus the other one, which you got a 50% chance of getting it, yes, of course, everybody's going to want the Pfizer one.
Yeah. Okay. The thing here, the issue, I've been hearing about this issue. People are talking about this. Okay, the president says, okay, don't announce what vaccine is available. So, but the thing is, they say, when you go to the vaccination center, because what happened earlier, when they found out that there's Pfizer in that particular place, everybody rushed and the social distancing is no longer there. So they're afraid that will happen again. And we are trying to avoid the crowd, right? So they decided, okay, why don't we not just tell them what vaccine? Okay, all they have to do is go there and then whatever vaccine is available, and they will tell you, okay, we have now here, I don't know, Sinovac, we have here Astra, whatever. So what do you want? Which one do you want? Okay, when you say, oh, I want Pfizer, and some people are just so cool. They said, okay, whatever's available, they just take it.
Yeah.
So that's why, and now the president says, no, let's give the Pfizer vaccine to the poor. That's what he says now. So maybe they're going to do it, because people are trying to be choosy. Some of my brothers are being so, said, oh, I'm going to wait for Pfizer. I'm going to wait for Moderna. Okay, if you want to wait it, go line up, because I think the Red Cross are planning to, to purchase, but they're going to charge you $3,500 for that vaccine. But what would you choose? Pay? Oh, yeah, for these people with money, that's okay. Paying $3,500 is not a big deal for them. But a lot of people, they would rather take the free one. And there's a lot of free one. Take whatever it is. It's just the same vaccine, I think, because if I asked already several people about the vaccine they took, mixed, Astra, Sinovac, Pfizer, just the same. They say the same. So
it's a cup of coffee from McDonald's and a cup of coffee from Starbucks. People want to go, show their Starbucks cup, their cup, and say, I've got the best, the best coffee right now. It's an Apple laptop and and a Chinese laptop. They both send emails. They both use Messenger. They both do basically the same thing, but one is Apple and the other one is not. So, right now that's where we're at, the society of vaccines. That's what we're in the middle of right now. Like, I had the Pfizer. Oh, you had the Sinovac? Oh, I'm sorry. You must, you weren't going to the right place. You need to shop at a better vaccine store. So,
Eric, remember, Filipinos are brand conscious. Okay? You know that.
I know. That's
they
true.
would go for American product, not
Yes.
the Chinese product. But,
Pay 185 pesos for a cup of coffee. Yes, I know.
for that.
But here again, it's funny, but then the sad part of it is they can't afford any more mistakes. They can't afford to make a mistake again and get people not to take a vaccine for whatever reason. They really have to push people to get the vaccine. So in some ways, I tend to agree with Duterte. I'm not sure I agree with the way that they went about doing this. But yeah, I don't think that, I think, here's the vaccine, vaccine. You don't put what kind of vaccine it is, just like, here it is, come and take it. And then the object is to get the most people vaccinated as possible. That's what they need to do.
Yeah. Okay. So, again here, if you, as long, when you line up, okay, when you go to a place for vaccination, just whatever is available, just take it. I will say this over and over again. Take it. All right. Now let's go to Minerva of Makati. Okay. Any observation on the GCQ quarantine status in NCR Plus? Did you notice anything?
The Philippines has been known in the past as the sick man of Asia. Have you ever heard that? And they had been starting to shake that title with economic gains in the past recent years. But the pandemic has uncovered a lot of things that we did not want to see in the Philippines. A healthcare system that caters to the upper class, leaving many to fend for themselves. And mistakes have been made that kill the economy for years. And all the positive steps that the Philippines has made in the last few decades, which was a lot. The Philippines has done really well in the last couple of decades, has been kind of washed away in a year. And if you look at China and Taiwan and Vietnam and South Korea and Indonesia and Thailand, they are all back on track. They'll all be back on track this year, but no one is predicting that the Philippines is going to be back on track. Philippines had the longest lockdown of any Asian country, yet after a year, there are still many new cases and deaths have appeared. And these semi-lockdowns like GCQ, the different levels of lockdowns, the MECQ, the ECQ, they have not had the effect that we had hoped that they would. And I don't mean to criticize here, but the mismanagement of the vaccine has put the Philippines far behind the other countries as far as recovery. And all this, stems from, and here again, I've said this before, allowing towns themselves to handle the pandemic in their own way, giving them resources to handle their own healthcare system. That turned out that was not such the best idea, I think. So testing and contact tracing is not what it should have been or not what it could have been. And now you have a public that is scared to admit that they have the virus. People that are sick are scared to come forward and say that they have it. So now we don't know exactly where it is and how bad it is. And everybody has a different way of dealing with it. If you go to Masbate, you have to quarantine. But if you go to Cebu, you don't have to. I mean, you do. You're supposed to quarantine at home. But that was another issue. I mean, here again, OFWs returning. They brought, these loose quarantine requirements that they had in the Philippines. So they brought the virus into the country that may have not been here if they had a little more stricter, things. And then they brought in COVID variants from all over the world that the Philippines is now having to deal with. And these lockdowns, like the GCQ, which is a semi-lockdown, it depends on where you live and what your job is. People from BGC and Makati, they order food, they order prescriptions. They never go out for groceries. They have it brought in. Many live in these less affluent parts. They don't have this option. They have to go to the grocery store, or they have to stand in line at the hospital or the drugstore to get their drugs. So in some cases, during GCQ, transportation is still not great, and a lot of people don't have cars. They rely on Jeeps. So, and right now, they're thinking that maybe 20% of the population will be vaccinated by December if nothing goes wrong, if there's not any problems or anything goes wrong. So 20% by December. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. So I think as long as people do what they need to do just to be part of the solution, because there's a big problem, of course, in our economy, because a lot of people, no job, no business, and all that. So how are we going to survive? Okay, a lot of people are stressed already. Okay, because there's no resources, there's no other way, right? So by doing whatever we can under GCQ, because I can see a lot of people going out already. I mean, they're probably go to work. If you go to a restaurant, you see them at the restaurant. Okay, but I don't know other places. I don't know about in Quezon City, and because I don't really go out of Makati, so I don't know. So I just hope that GCQ. I think GCQ is really, in a way, helping the economy now, beginning to help the economy. Excuse me. So
yeah.
I just hope and pray that this thing will be resolved as soon as possible for us to live longer without the virus.
Yeah, I mean, this is, this issue now of be part of the solution. And you said this on the radio, you said this on the show before, be part of the solution. That is the thing that we need to be pushing, trying to get people to do something that they're not going to do. That you're just not going to get them to do. You're not going to get them. If you say, okay, now you're here now, go quarantine in your house. Okay, you trust the people to do that. Sometimes you can't trust everybody, but you need to get people to be part of the solution, to work on this together, to work on this as one country. And I think many people have said this already. I think I've stolen this line from somebody else, to work on the virus as one. And I think that is the key element for getting out of this.
Yeah, that's all we can do now.
And be
part of the solution.
Be part of the solution. And speaking of key elements to get out of things, we need to get out of this show because we are out of time. And we have had such, I thank to all the listeners that wrote in this week, because the questions this week were all over the place, and that's what we love. We love when there's interesting questions from every part, every facet of what's going on in the world news. So, Lolly Tolentino, thank you so much, of course, for being here. Everybody, please subscribe to the YouTube channel RJAM News and watch us there on Sky Cable. And Lolly, you and I will be back again next week with more questions from our viewers and things and interesting discussions that we will have here on the show. So in the meantime, everybody pay attention to Lolly, who's been vaccinated and looks great. And everybody be safe out there. And you, Lolly, be safe. And we will see everybody next week.